whether you have any view or belief in existing permanent self. Keep asking this question. And if you do not find any sign of existing permanent self, that is one test. Second is if you don't have any doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, moral principles, dependent origination, impermanence, and so on, if you don't have any doubt about these things, that is the second test. Third is you ask yourself whether you think that you can attain liberation from suffering by following any rules and rituals. Any rules and rituals. Ask yourself, do you have that belief, or are you attached to rules and rituals, thinking that you can attain liberation by following them? If you don't have any of this in your mind, you know for sure that you have attained the stream entry. But don't try to do something superficially, but you must go right deep into your mind and keep thinking anytime, day or night, whether you have these three, you have passed these three tests, then you are stream enterer. Nobody can verify it but you yourself. Any question? Any other question?
Let's see. What is the phrase in Pali where the Buddha invites us to come see for ourselves and not to trust him?
Okay. Pacchattam veditabbo vinyuhi, that is the qualities of the Dhamma. There are 6 qualities, well expounded, seeing by oneself, seeing in this very life, it is unaffected by time, and inviting us to come and see, leading onwards, and each and every individual, wise individual, can see the truth by himself or herself. That is called Pacchattam Editabbo. Vinyuhi, Vinyu means wise individual, Vinyuhi means by wise individuals. Pacchattam means in oneself, personally, Veditabbang, knowable, discernible. And that is the 6 qualities of the Dhamma. And the last one is, once again, for your information and for you to remember, Pacchattam Veditabbo Vinyuhi. So this is the phrase.
Thank you, Bhante. Someone says, good morning, Bhante. Here in Singapore, it's 10 p.m. at night.
Okay, who is that?
Annie.
Annie, okay, Annie. You say good morning. We say good evening to you.
Next question, Bhante, is a past incident appeared during meditation, and past incidents appear during meditation and sometimes immediately followed by self-investigation, such as identified that past incident due to own strong view. Should I immediately stop the self-investigation process by pulling back to focus at breath?
You know, if you investigate and you have a very clear, good awareness of the results, then mind naturally sees there is no more to think about or investigate. That time mind returns to the breath. You keep investigating and you will be very clearly convinced what we investigated is true, real, and then mind returns to the breath naturally by itself. Another question?
Since I remember there is a story, a senior Bhante was able to teach students to attain arhantship. He always thought he was an arhat, maybe a very, very strong yoniso manasikara all the time. One day, his student, who is an arhat, realized this teacher is not an arhat yet. I was just confused that even someone checked his qualities meet an arhat's qualities, but the facts can still be not yet. How to understand this story?
Now, the monk who thought that he had attained arahanthood in reality has not attained it, but it is the confusion he had in his mind. So his student had really attained arahanthood and also was able to, he has developed, in addition to attaining arahanthood, he developed other supernormal powers like reading the minds of other individuals. So when he read the mind of his teacher, he found the teacher had not attained arahanthood. Then the student, but teacher had attained supernatural powers by practicing jhanas. Then the student asked to create an elephant. He said he created it right away in front of them. Then the student asked the teacher to make the elephant coming towards him, charging, raising his tails and ears and coming very fast to attack him. As he created that, the teacher started running. Then the student caught him by his robe and said to Venerable Sir, you created this elephant and you are afraid of your own creation? That time he came to his senses, and then the student taught the teacher how to attain arahanthood. So this is a story you can see in a commentaries. These stories you cannot find in the text, but this is a commentary story. Maybe maybe true. It can happen. Yeah. Any other question?
Bhante, how do we acquire right view? Is it only if we get insights? Can we do that through reading the suttas by ourselves? Meditation is necessary to acquire right view. Is that correct?
That's right. That's correct. You know, what are the right views? Number one, understanding, discerning, comprehending, realizing the Four Noble Truths is number one right understanding or right view. Understanding dependent origination, right view, real right view. Understanding impermanence is real right view. When you have these segments of understanding, you have right understanding, but right understanding, you can get the theories from books, but the realization comes from your own experience, like meditation. Meditation is so big in the Buddha's teaching. Without that, you will not understand things very, very clearly without any mistake. As Buddha said, as I mentioned earlier, this is personally realizable by the wise individuals. So we have to realize it by ourselves as wise individuals. This realization is not a kind of cheating oneself. This is a real deep realization with endowed with wisdom, and therefore at least these three segments are absolutely necessary. That is, understanding Four Noble Truths, understanding the dependent origination, understanding impermanence. These three go together.
Bhante, over the past few sessions, you've received many questions about certain suttas remedying certain maladies. This person is asking whether sutta recitation is useful for the practice.
Sutta repetition also is useful because repeating the suttas themselves can help you to attain even full enlightenment. There are 5 ways of attaining enlightenment, liberation. One is reading and understanding what you read very, very clearly. Second is listening. Third is Dhamma, investigation of Dhamma. Then fourth is discussing Dhamma. And the fifth and most important is meditating, sitting in one place. And any of these steps you can follow to attain liberation.
Bhante, is that last one called Bhavana Maya Panya?
Bhavana Maya Panya, yes, very true. That is called Bhavana Maya Panya. Chinta Maya, Bhavana Maya Panya, really, very true. Wisdom arising from meditation. Suttamaya, Chintamaya, Bhavana. Suttamaya means by listening. There is a discourse called Pancha Vimuktayatana Sutta in Anguttara Nikaya. There you can see the 5 ways I mentioned. Even chanting, I did not mention chanting. Discourse also is a way to attain liberation. And through the practice of meditation, you get panyamaya, bhavanamaya panya. I think that is enough for this morning's question session. Now we begin our meditation. Okay. You close pictures. Right. All the questions. Okay. Now we start our morning practice, starting with Metta. May all beings be happy and secure.
May all beings have happy
minds,
minds,
whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone there. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hatred or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake, one should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision. Removing desires for sensual pleasures, one comes never again to birth in the womb. With this metta thought in mind, let us continue our practice. When we practice metta, you feel you are safe and secure from all directions no unwholesome evil thoughts can invade your mind. So you first build this buffer around yourself. It is, of course, psychological. With this secure feeling, without thinking of anything in the past, anything in the future, pay total undivided attention to your breathing, and then notice inhaling as inhaling without verbalizing or conceptualizing, and be mindful of exhaling as exhaling. And when the lungs are full, inhaling cuts off and there will be very brief pause. You cannot stretch the pause to some extent. That is your deliberate thing, which makes it difficult for your lungs and hearts. Therefore, let that brief pause be as brief as it normally is, and then continue breathing in and out. After inhaling, you will have, when the lungs are full, one brief pause. After exhaling, when there is no air in your lungs, there will be another brief pause. Noticing this, they are very brief. Sometimes you even cannot notice because it changes very quickly. Here you see changes or impermanence right there. And then you notice your feeling of breath. That also happens very naturally. You cannot hide it, you cannot prevent it. It happens. Then your perception of breath, mentally you perceive it. Then your attention or thought of breath, that also changes. Then your consciousness or awareness of breath also changes. Now these five together change. What are the five? The breath, feeling, perception, volition or attention, and consciousness. This is the simplest way of putting five aggregates in words. With this, you can see changing, changing, changing. You can never stop it, never stop, always keep changing. Then your body becomes calm, relaxed, mind becomes calm, relaxed, bed becomes calm, relaxed. This is also happens very naturally. Then your hindrances will subside, such as greed, anger or resentment, restlessness and worry, sleepiness and drowsiness, and doubt. All will simply subside at this time because you experience things by yourself, and therefore these take your mind and attention, and therefore your hindrances will subside. Then you gain concentration. When you gain concentration, you have loving friendliness, compassion, appreciative joy, equanimity arising. They are not words, but they also are feelings. Then your joy arises, uh, happiness arises, concentration arises. When they arise, you can stay noticing them. They also appear and disappear. None of them stays the same even for two consecutive moments. They all keep changing. This change you can notice only when the mind is full of mindfulness and deep concentration. With this, I stop and let us experience these things in our own person. Dukkha pattaca nidukkha, bhaya pattaca nibhaya, soka pattaca nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all living beings. Friends, this is our very sincere, earnest wish that all suffering beings, especially this time, be free from their suffering. They have fear of death, fear of losing relatives, friends, spouses, parents, children, and so on, losing status, their homes, their jobs. There are many, countless things that make them unhappy, cause their fear, and may they all be free from all of them. All those who are supporting, helping medical professionals, their assistants, facilitate all this, providing face masks, ventilators, and helping self-quarantine, and so forth. They all be safe, sound, secure, and return to their very normal life and live long in very good health. This is our very sincere wish. Now, friends, we can have another session of discussion, questions. If you have any, I hope you write your question during meditation.
Bhante, this question is from before the meditation.
What is that?
This person attended one of your programs that you gave in the UK a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
She seems to remember you stating that one does not need to develop all four foundations of mindfulness, but developing one of them is enough.
Mm-hmm.
So the first question is whether this is correct or if she misheard you. Yes, if you could clarify that.
Okay, that is the question. Very good question. Yes, I did mention it. I still hold on to this teaching. The in Anguttara Nikaya, there is the series of discourses called Marana Sati. Marana Sati. In that discourse, it's a long one, I don't want to spend all the time. One monk said in front of the Buddha, Venerable Sir, if I have time enough to take one inhaling and one exhaling, that would be enough for me to attain full liberation. This is a very powerful statement. That means you got to see impermanence in anything in your life, anything you experience, to overcome all the defilements. There is another discourse in Samyutta Nikaya called Anicca Sanya Sutta. Anicca Sutta, Buddha said, if you practice impermanence, sabbang kamaragam paryadi, sabbang ruparagam paryadi, sabbang bhavaragam paryadi, sabbang avidyam paryadiyati, sabbang asmeti manang paryaditi samohananti, which means when you practice mindfulness of impermanence, all your desires will vanish, all your desire for existing will vanish, all your uh, becoming, desire for becoming vanish, all ignorance vanish, all notion of self, I, vanish and disappears from your mind. This is a very powerful statement. All you need is seeing impermanence. You can see impermanence in 1 breath, 2 breaths, 10 breaths, 100 breaths. That is one subject of meditation. In the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, there are 4 foundations. Each has many sections. First has 6, uh, second has pairs of, I think, 8, third has 8 pairs, and the fourth has 5 sections. If you take one of them and focus your mind on them and see impermanence in one of them, you can attain liberation. Buddha has given a series of subjects in these discourses, and we put all of them together and try to practice. It is very difficult. You select one that you like, that you can keep up with, that you can practice every day, and that one is enough to see impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. Yes, I still hold on to that teaching. I still said that it is true. And what I said years ago in UK, maybe in 2015, my last visit to UK, and I gave that instructions in that time, and many times in the past I went to UK and Europe, and I mentioned this. You are right.
Thank you, Bhante. And I think in your comprehensive response, you answered all of her other questions. So let's move on to the next one. Good question. Is it true that a person with an analytical mind may take a longer time to attain enlightenment?
Sure. Analytical mind is very active, logical, rational. The person enjoys logic, analyzing, like atomists. They like that. So they keep analyzing for entire life. And that is what the scientists do, especially atomists. That's what they do. Therefore, what we do is we instead of analyzing, we see even in this analysis, they see things are changing. That is why they analyze one and then goes to next, that go to next. So all the things that they keep analyzing are, while analyzing, they are changing. So our approach is totally different from theirs. Our approach is universal, whether you are rich or poor, educated or uneducated, you experience impermanence. You can never hide that. Then therefore this method, this practice is universal. Anybody, even we have seen in Buddhist literature, people who have no education whatsoever, like Super Buddha, beggar. Just listen to the Buddha's talk and attain stage of stream entry and so forth. Most of the people you see in Theragata, Therigata, Sutta Nipata and so forth, Majjhima Nikaya and so on, Sanyutta, Anguttara, all the Nikayas, all of them were not highly educated people, just ordinary people. Anybody can see impermanence, and that person very clearly seeing impermanence can attain liberation. Yes.
Bhante, outside of your writings and what this person, sorry, I'll read it directly. Outside of your writings and what I have learned from my daily practice and the jhana course at the Bhavana Society, what supplemental readings would you recommend to help deepen my practice?
I think if you want to read, there are many things to read. You read discourses directly in Samyutta Nikaya has very wonderful discourses, Majjhima Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and so forth. These Nikayas you can read. Plus, if you want to have a very deep, profound reflections, read Sutta Nipata, especially Attaka and Parayana, last two chapters. And there are many beautiful reading material. What I was trying to do is simplifying, giving a very simple, practical instructions in my books for people to make it easy and take it to heart and sincerely practice. I got information from all these books, but and put into very typical, simple English with the help of my many editors, American editors, whose mother tongue is English, and therefore they are wonderful helpers, edited everything I wrote and made it very beautifully presentable for people to read without getting bored and tired. I suggest you to read the original if you want, read those texts.
Bhante, I think you touched on this maybe yesterday when you said that all of these dhammas are interrelated and they all stream into the same flow. But this question is, it seems to me that anapanasati, 4 foundations of mindfulness, and 5 aggregates follow the section upon contemplation and meditation. Is this true? And if so, can we pick one of the frameworks and contemplate it in terms of dependent origination and the 3 characteristics in meditation, all in service to abandon greed, hatred, and delusion? Would this be a sound path?
Right. You pick one of them for your thinking, for instance, 3 characteristics comes out from your own personal experience, personal practice. And dependent origination, you see definitely as you keep practicing from your own personal experience. I give a very simple example. Several times I mentioned this. When greed arises, pain arises with that. That is dependent origination formula. That means when this is very simple formula. When this is not, this is not. When this arises, this arises. Put to uh, put it in concrete. Greed, when greed arises, pain arises. As greed is arising, pain is arising. As greed passes away, pain is passes away. So this is the dependent origination. Every time you experience something, something else also arises at the same time. When joy arises, mind is relaxed. When joy is arising, mind is relaxing. When joy passes away, mind relaxing passes away. When stiffness arises, discomfort arises. Stiffness arising, discomfort is arising. When stiffness passes away, discomfort passes away. Like that, anytime you experience one thing, there also is another thing at the same time. That is dependent origination. That means not one single thing can exist by itself autonomously, alone, without any anything else. It can never happen. That is true for the whole universe. It is true for our little personal life. Okay?
Well, the next person is wondering if becoming correct translation of the Pali word bhava.
Right. Becoming is bhava. Some people say karma bhava, vipaka bhava, and so forth. But karma bhava, vipaka bhava is not sutta terms. Sometimes it is commentarial terms, sometimes abhidhamma terms. Whatever, during the time you are committing karma, during that time it is called karma bhava. That means you are generating karma again and again and again and again. Then when you bear the results, experience the result, you experience it series of activity experiences coming together. That is called vipaka bhava. But the Sutta said bhava means what do you call kama bhava, rupa bhava, arupa bhava, and so forth, becoming beings in sensual planes, becoming beings in fine material existence, and becoming immaterial existence, and so on. So bhava is simply is becoming. And that bhava becoming also we can see in this very life. For instance, you have a great desire to be a nurse. You become a nurse. You have a great desire to be a carpenter. You become a carpenter. When you become we have a great desire to be a doctor, you become a doctor. When you have great desire to be a lawyer, you will be a lawyer. When you become a businessman, you will be a business. Like that, becoming is what you very earnestly think that will become. Upadana patya bhava. Upadana means clinging to something, idea, and that will manifest in that form. I wanted to become a monk, I became a monk. Like that.
So Bhante, on the flip side of that, what if you obsess about, what if your aversion is very strong as opposed to your craving? There's something you don't want that you think obsessively about, and then sometimes that happens. Is there a cause effect there?
You think that something not to happen?
Yeah, like let's say
the corona.
Maybe something like maybe you don't want your child to go into the army and you think about that all the time.
Going to the army, what?
Maybe you don't want your son to go into the military.
Military. Okay.
And then your son, you think about it all the time. I don't want, and then the son goes into the military.
Right. That is not what you want, and it happens. What the goal is, you have suffering, pain at that time for not getting what you want. That is another form of suffering. To not to get what you want is suffering. You don't want your son to be in the military, and goes to military, and that is against your wish, and you have suffering. But here you are getting what you want, and you are happy.
I see.
Yeah. All right, friends. I think, is there any other question? Burning question?
There's a couple of questions. It depends if...
One question we can answer now.
Okay. I think many people will benefit from your answering this question. Bhante, is it best to stick to just one form of meditation, for example, Anapana, or to do a variety of meditations like Anapana, 32 parts of the body, and Metta daily? Can doing a variety of methods hinder the progress of insight?
I would suggest you stay with one until you achieve the goal. But you have to be very thorough in that particular thing. Anapana, I recommend Anapana. All depends on what you really are comfortable with. If you jump from one to another, you keep what you call meditation window shopping. I would not recommend that. You stick with one and continue that. Then you will be very proficient in that, and you attain your goal. I mentioned to somebody the other day that if I ask somebody to dig 100 feet to get water, you may dig 10 holes and come and tell me logically you dug 100 feet, 10 each hole. You never get water. In order to get water, you dig 100 feet in one place, then you get water. Similarly, I suggest you to do one practice, thoroughly study. You have to see whether that is working or not. If that is not working for you, then of course you select another one until you are proficient in it and attain your goal. I think that would be the last question to this morning that I can answer within my limited time. And I want to once again wish all of you to be peaceful and happy, and we all together as one body, one unit, wish the whole world to be free from this nasty COVID-19, and get all these people back to normal life and attain full enlightenment.
Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Sadhu.
Sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
And
Thank you, Bhante.
I also want to
Thanks.
wish those of you in Sri
Thank you so
Lanka
much. You guys are the best.
happy New Year. Today is
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.